here. So first off, what was your in-game name here?
Mozzie, Team 1, Ana.
Alright. And then, yep, a few other questions. First off, how long have you been playing Overwatch for?
Like, like 4 or 5 months, maybe.
Okay. And then let's say like the past 2 weeks or so, how often have you been playing the game?
Probably like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours every day.
Okay. And then final question for you is, do you have any questions for me before we begin?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, then we can go ahead and just hop right into it. It'll be a minute or so while I'm looking for something to talk about here.
Sure.
Barrier in place.
Take a deep breath. Now, let's achieve our objectives. Nim,
No, it's
get
unfortunate.
back in the fight. My ultimate is charging. Nano boost is charging. Heal up.
All right, so first off, maybe just putting things out as I see them. Maybe he could have gone for like an anti-nade at some point earlier in the fight here, whereas we haven't used it nade up until this point. Secondly, when Monkey dives on us, we kind of like panic nade immediately, keeping in mind that we're still 150 HP by the time he's on top of us. So alternatively, maybe what we can do just to put a little bit more pressure on him is just run towards him and then nade like on top of him. That way we get the heals as well as we purple him, and then maybe we can follow it up with like a sleep afterwards or something of that sort. Whereas we
Mhm.
maybe don't need to immediately nade here because of the fact that we still have a bunch of health
Heal up.
left. And then also on top of that, keep in mind that if we're nading now when
Nano
we're
boost
not
is
down,
charging.
I can't exactly remember how much healing a nade does. Do you know how much it does? Like, is it like I think it's like over 100, right? It's like 150 something like, or 120 or something like that, right? Um,
Yeah.
when we're healing ourselves when
Heal up.
we're at 150 or 160 already, instead of getting 120, we're only giving ourselves like 50 HP of healing, right?
hmm
Which is less than half of what we could be potentially getting with the nade. So we're overall here, if we're nading this early, we're not getting the purple, and we're also getting half of the healing we could be getting, right? Um,
Right.
so just give it a little bit longer. Maybe go for the sleep on him first, or go for the anti-nade and then the sleep, or something of that sort. We just use it. We just rush it here, and most of the time, just don't feel like you have to rush it if it's just a solo monkey or one person on top of you. Is a lot of times they're not going to have enough damage to like instantly kill you unless they're coming in with like a full team, right?
Go.
Got it.
I'll keep you healed.
Now, we do kite into probably bad territory here. We are very out in the open at the moment, so I say we run away from the monkey, but we run away from monkey into a very, very bad open area. So, when it comes to positioning, right, we'll go more in depth on this as needed. But when it comes to positioning, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? When we have cover, like something like this, where they can see us, and then now they can't see us, can't see us, right? It just takes us like half a second to duck behind it. Whereas if we're like right here, where we have to run all the way around and get behind it, this is the absence of cover. There's no cover here. We're not near it. We're not using cover. We're not near cover. And then that means that we can get shot at and killed very, very easily. Whereas if we're like hugging more so along this left side of the map, we give less visibility to their team. Like right here, for example, Ash especially can see us very easily. Whereas if we're over here, this puts Ash out of our line of sight. And also, Monkey isn't really that big of a threat when we have Sleep and when we have our whole team backing us up. So we just kind of kite into this bad territory over here, and then now we're gonna be stuck over on this side of the map with very and like over here, there's very little cover to work with, right? You have like these odds and ends things all over the place, but that's it, which will mean that we're kind of stuck over here. So just maybe backing up into some not so great territory, whereas we could have just sat around this side of the map over here when Monkey dove us.
My ultimate is charging.
Okay, pay attention to health bars as I'm already noticing some overhealing. So again, I'm just mentioning things as I see them. If they start to repeat very frequently, then they become bigger issues. At the moment, I'm noticing a couple times where people will be like full HP yet will still try to heal them up. This is called overhealing, where you're essentially just wasting shots, wasting time because they don't need healing, of course, and then therefore the healing that you're trying to give them would have been better suited. We could have been reloading with that time. We could have been looking for somebody else to heal. We could have been looking to use an ability. We could have been looking just using our awareness and paying attention to what's going on around us. We could have been repositioning. So there's a lot of stuff we can be doing with that time that just ends up getting wasted with overhealing. So let's spot a couple times here where we are overhealing. So and a little bit of inefficiencies. So first off, you'll notice over here how we try to heal the hog, which is fine because we see hog's critical, but then he's about to go around the corner here, and we're actually going to still pay attention to him even though he's like all the way through the wall, right? When he's like this,
Yeah.
ignore him. You're not going to be able to get to him unless you see him start walking over to the doorway. We can't help him out at all, right? So we end up spending a little bit too much time paying attention to him, whereas we probably should be, going, okay, I can't help him. He's too far away. Looking at somebody else, so we spend some time on him unnecessarily. Then we shoot a shot at the shield, and then a shot at the wall. Shield break isn't usually Ana's forte. Don't really go for it. We shoot some shots at Sigma, who is pretty much, for all intensive purposes, full HP. He's down like 10 HP right now.
Hmm.
Usually, for the most part, use that time to reload. He's full HP, right? Use the time to reload. Use the time to use your abilities, right? A lot of Ana is ability based. A lot of how you carry on Ana is ability based. Yet so far we haven't really seen us using abilities aggressively. We've only used it to counter Monkey when he dives, but we haven't seen us using aggressive anti-nades. We'll continue. We'll go more on that topic as it comes up, but for now we'll continue more with overhealing. So we heal him once when he's full HP, and then we heal again when he's full HP. And then Genji we shoot at when he's down like 10 HP, and then now he needs healing, right? So we heal him up, right? Then Genji's full HP, and we try to heal him again. And then Sigma's full HP, and we heal him. And then Hog does need healing, right? So that's fine, right? Mercy's full HP, we heal Mercy, right? So it's just we saw in that fight alone, we saw probably like somewhere around like the range of like 6 to 8 just wasted shots, right? Which is
Hmm.
not very good, right? Because then that's 6 to 8 wasted shots that could be not wasted, right? Where we could be actually shooting people effectively with it. So, make sure that we're paying attention to health bars. That's part of awareness, right? How awareness works is when you have poor awareness, you don't know what the heck's going on around you, and you can't make good decisions. When you have good awareness, you know what's happening, and therefore you can make good decisions. You have the ability to make good decisions. So if we don't see health bars, we're going to be overhealing people because we don't know that they're full HP. If we do pay attention to health bars, well, now we see that they're full HP and we know, okay, this person does not need healing. So we want to make sure we're paying attention to health bars and not healing when healing is not needed, and then therefore using that time to use things such as your abilities and doing other things as well.
Got it.
This is going to hurt.
Very, very nice chuck and nade.
Oh,
Oh, good abilities there. Though maybe scoping in at this range, like again, we might talk about that at as it comes up. But here we miss a shot there. We ran out of ammo. We chuck the nade in, and then we do some unscoped shots from here. Whereas maybe we could just be scoping in since they're like a mile away from us. Right, that could be something there.
Right.
Like here in Genji, we do go for those shots on them.
you're going to be okay.
Barrier's about to break.
Healing stream engaged.
Like Newton and
Oh, almost.
أنا هاخد بالي منك.
almost ready.
Nano boost is ready. Get in there, and I'll get you. Heal up.
Okay, watch the danger levels of people, as this nade maybe isn't needed if they're not in danger. So keeping in mind that somebody can be critical and not in danger. So look at Mercy, right? Can anybody possibly on their team be shooting at her?
No.
No. So maybe nade isn't needed in that instance and Hog as well, that he gets around the corner. So pretty much nobody can shoot at them and see them, and then therefore nade maybe isn't needed to heal them up. We can just kind of normally heal them up.
Heal up.
Yeah.
Nap time.
Okay, nice sleep. Though we are holding on the right side here, which probably isn't going to be the best. So at the moment, whenever possible, you should probably be rotating and trying to get to better positioning, which I'd probably say the best positioning at the moment would be to play on this stairway up here. But in any case, being on the right side of the map probably isn't gonna be the best idea, because this means that if they push in and get aggressive, we want to be able to back up towards our team and back up this direction, because otherwise we're just gonna get cut off from them, and then they can push us very easily off on our own where we don't have any team support. So
Mhm.
preferably here we'd be, if anything, we would be hugging this left wall, so that when we do back up and they push forwards, we can back up this direction, which is with our team, and we're not going to be off on our own. Whereas if we were forced to back up, okay, well, if we try to back up this way, now we're walking through the open, or if we push this way, then we're isolating ourselves, right? So currently positioning is not the best, and then also preferably should have at some point rotated up here to the high ground. So I'm trying to think. Why don't we just talk on high ground? Why high ground's great so far? Because we have not seen, besides like the first like 20 seconds where we set up on high ground, we haven't taken high ground since. So let's talk about why high ground's great. So first off, high ground all acts as natural cover, right? We talked about cover usage just briefly, but all of high ground acts as natural cover, right? Because they can see us, and then we just back away from the ledge, and now they can't see us, right? Just
Mhm.
because we've backed up, right? And that applies to most of high grounds, not all. Like, so for example, a bridge might not do that as effectively. This looks like you still can here, right? So high ground acts as natural cover. You can also crouch and do the same thing. On top of that, most characters in the game can't reach you very easily there. So Reinhardt can't get to you, Moya, Ana can't get to you, Zarya can't get to you, right? Only Ashe and Genji would be able to reach you up on the high ground, and then Ashe would need to use an ability to get to you, right? Which adds an additional layer of survivability if most characters can't reach us. Now, thirdly, right, high ground also gives us very fantastic visibility. So from a high ground, we can see, if we run around a little bit, we can see over here and all of this under here and all of point over here, right, and then all of the high ground as well. Whereas if we sat like in our current position, we can't see over here or over there. We can't see any of the high ground very easily, right? So we lose out on
Mhm.
visibility to be able to see what's going on around us. And then finally, high ground also acts as an off angle, which is very important to land abilities such as anti-nade. You familiar with what an off angle is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, just main angle right here. Off angle is just getting around the shields and the tanks, is just taking a different angle. So that would just be, if we take a high ground that gets above them, well, now we can just get around the Reinhardt very easily, and like look at that nade, for example, like right here, where we can just chuck in a nade, boom, 3 people anti-nade, right? Whereas where we're currently positioned, we're not able to really do that very effectively at all, because we have to get through shields, and we have to get through our team, and we have to get through the tanks on the enemy team to actually land big anti-nades. And then on that point, since we haven't seen us using them aggressively yet, go for anti-nades, right? Because we haven't really seen us doing it a ton. I think we've seen one single one on the enemy Winston, and that was it. Actually, no, we didn't, because we didn't even go for it on Winston. So we haven't actually seen an anti-nade yet, and anti-nade's a very, very powerful ability, right? It's going to, if you get a 6-man anti-nade, a lot of times that's going to be more powerful than a nano boost, and it's on a cooldown, right? It's an ability that you get a lot. So going for big anti-nades is how on Ana you get carrying potential. So we want to make sure we're actually looking actively for anti-nades, whereas so far we haven't really been looking for them. In fact, we haven't gone for any yet. And then, so like kind of how that looks in your gameplay is every single nade you're looking for it to be an anti-nade, right? Which isn't going to happen, because of course healing comes up when healing is needed, right? You don't dictate on your team when healing is needed. The damage that's coming in dictates that. So whenever healing is needed, then you throw a healing nade, right? Which will be probably around like 40% of the time is where healing nades will be needed. But the other 60% of the time should probably be anti-nades, because it's a really, really powerful ability, and we want to stop them from being able to heal. This creates space on our team because it puts pressure on them, and it makes them either, they have when you nade them, they have two decisions. Do we back up or do we push in? If they push in, now they're pushing in when they can't heal. If they back up, you've just created space, right? Where now your team has some time to recuperate a little bit. So anti-nade's great. Use it more often. We haven't used it yet at all. And then take positioning where we can actually land the anti-nades, which would be not where we're at right now.
My
That all makes
ultimate
sense.
is ready. Get in
Yeah.
there, and I will
All
boost
right,
you.
so we're looking for a nano blade right now. That's good.
Powered up. Get in
All right,
there.
good. I like it. So we're communicating. We get it on him at pretty good timing. Make sure. One thing I would say maybe is instead of, if you know, like Genji's going for the blade, I wouldn't pre-aim. Like we should probably pre-aim where we know he's going to be rather than where he is currently. Do you think he's
Mhm.
gonna, he's probably not gonna pop blade right there. He's so far away from the enemy team. If he pops blade right here, that's not gonna be very smart of him. So I would
Yeah.
imagine he's gonna dash up for it. Maybe that's something you guys communicate in chat or something of that sort. If you know he's gonna go for that, I would angle ourselves more so like this, looking up. Looking up here. Maybe like glancing back and forth or something like that, just so we already are aiming where he's going to be. Whereas here, we lose track of him for like half a second,
No power down.
right?
Get in there.
But besides that, it's pretty much really fine.
Walk it off.
When we're throwing in the nade, watch our teammates that can block it very easily. This is why off angles are great, but then if you don't have an off angle, just make sure you're paying attention to your teammates. And if you're trying to chuck in an anti-nade, that you're just walking to the left or right of them. We could probably also have chucked in an anti-nade like right here and just thrown one in, and then maybe we could have gotten a bunch of people with it. But instead, we are delayed with it by a couple of seconds, and then we let 2 people walk in front of us, and then we throw it like really late and delayed, where probably it's pretty obvious that they're in front of us, right? So,
Mhm.
all right, so we also seem to be unscoping at distances. So let's talk about that. So we're at 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Go to the hero gallery. So far I have seen us using our unscope too much. So when it comes to Ana, you have different types of scoping. You have your
Never
unscoped
stop
shots,
fighting
your
for what you
scoped shots,
believe in.
and your quick scope shots, right? Most Anas that I've ever coached, with some exceptions, and I coached a lot of Anas. Ana's like probably my most coached character. Either do one or the other. They either unscope too much or they scope too much, and neither is good because each scope has their own uses, and this is why they have the different types of scoping in the game. Otherwise, they just remove one of them and say, okay, this is how Ana shoots now, right?
Right.
That's not the case. Ana does have value in both types of scopes, whereas so far we've seemed to be doing unscoped shots like 90% of the time, which probably should not be the rate in which we're using it. So the rough rates in which you should be using your different types of scoping is like 50% unscoped, 40% scoped, and 10% quick scoped. Roughly around that number range. It'll dictate from game to game, and then that also just might be slightly off in the numbers. But in any case, let's talk about the values that you get out of each different type of scope. Obviously, you seem to prefer the unscoped, so unscoped shots has a lot of value in the fact that you keep up mobility and you keep up visibility, and you besides that, those are the 2 main points, and then you can hit people at a close range because it's a projectile. Now, where it falters is where you're at long distances, where now you are shooting from very far away with a projectile, which inherently projectiles are much more difficult to land at ranges, because now you have to predict the movements of said person, which is going to be easy on bots, but not on people. We have to predict their movement at a very, very long range where it's going to have a travel time. You're going to get the healing to them slower or the damage to them slower. You're going to get into a lot of complications where it becomes very difficult to land nades and sleeps and your unscoped shots at ranges, just because of the nature of how projectiles work, and projectiles are much harder to hit at a range than instant hit scan shots. So this is where scope shines. Is scope is now an instant shot, right? That's why scope is so good. Now on top of that, to assist you with hitting long range shots, it also zooms you in, which makes it so that you're going to be more accurate at a range, right? It's also going to slow down your sensitivity, which again is going to make you more accurate at a range. And then on top of that, it's going to slow down your movement, which again will make you more accurate at a range because now you're not moving as much, and that can make your shots more precise. So all that to say, scope's better at ranges, unscoped better at close ranges, right? So let's talk about what those ranges would look like. Now, this is so let's just talk about it, right? Roughly 10 meters from from here to there on a squishy target, so anything that's not a tank is going to be where you're unscoping, and then anything past that is a scope. Since tanks have bigger hitboxes, it's going to be roughly 15 meters, right, to where you can unscope, and then if this range is a little bit pliable, so especially like if you're really comfortable with unscoped shots, like you seem to be, you can bump this back like 5 meters ish. So you can bump that back to 15 meters on squishies, and then maybe 20 meters max on tanks. And then if you're doing unscoped anything past this, which we have seen us doing unscoped at like these ranges, right? If we're doing anything past this, we are that's just a mistake. We should be scoping just because you're going to be a lot more accurate and you're going to be able to hit your shots much more efficiently if you're scoping in at these ranges, just because of the nature of how this scope works. So that's what I would say to that. Quick scoping does have a couple uses, like quick scoping. What the benefit of it is that you get the instant shot while also keeping up mobility and visibility, which means that the main use that you'd have out of this is when you're under pressure. So let's say you're being shot at, or you have somebody on top of you, yet somebody all the way over there needs healing. Well, you might want a quick scope to heal them, so that you can get the instant shot, but then you don't have to stop moving around and scope in and let them kill you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So besides that, you also, the reason why it's bad is because it has a very slow rate of fire, so you're not going to want to use it all the time, right? Other time you can use it is if you're trying to push forwards and take space. So like, let's say we're walking back from spawn, and we have our teammates who need healing all the way up there. Well, if we sit here and scope, we're moving back very slowly, or if we unscope, we're going to be very inaccurate. But if we quick scope while walking back, we can move forwards at with accuracy until we get close enough to unscope. So those are the different times the scopes are needed. That'll make sense, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so one more tech thing to show before we move on. Are you familiar with Ana scope nade tech at all?
Yeah.
Yeah, you are. Oh wow, people seem
Yeah.
to. I just asked that yesterday as well, and somebody else seemed to know what that is. Bet much more people know what that is now. All right, interesting. Yeah, most people actually don't know what that is until recently, apparently. Maybe
Yeah.
someone popularized it or something like that. All right, so let's see. We're going to go back to Junkertown, I think.
Yeah.
Welcome to Ready for Battle.
All right. So then we were on to.
Statistic.
One.
Get that.
Okay, we're a little farther back because we used Nano, right? So you notice us using like unscoped at those ranges, right? Like we're just really far away.
Mm-hmm.
I have your back.
Okay, right now we probably want to be, because it's in between fights, we can probably make the assumption that our team is not, or at least we can hope to assume that our team's not going to be holding into their spawn. So we should probably be using this time to reposition and retake high ground, which would be the best positioning possible. So we want to make sure that in between fights we're repositioning to the best place possible instead of just kind of sitting down main,
Isn't quite ready yet.
right? They have Mercy with them here, and we can probably assume that they're going to be backing up sometime soon, which they do, right? So that's an accurate assumption here. Looks like we
This
tapped
is a
out.
misclick.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a misclick.
I've seen it.
So here we're just holding too close, right? Like, whereas if we had rotated, well, now we would just be in the same exact position, but just like up a level, which would just give us a lot more advantages to work with. So just missed opportunity there.
Barriers about to break. Melody.
Okay. Kind of same thing as the monkey. Make sure we're not panicking and using it way too early here, as Genji's not even anywhere close to us, and we see the bubble on him. Yeah, we throw the sleep out anyways, right? He doesn't even go for us, so the sleep just comes out way too early when it's not gonna hit him, right? When he has a bubble on him.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a mix between panic and awareness of paying attention to the bubble that's on him, and sleep's not gonna hit him anyways, so we might as well just back up and they maybe nade ourselves to keep ourselves alive. But their sleep ends up getting wasted.
I'm on fire.
Okay, now that I'm thinking, okay, so we did actually throw in anti last fight, anti this fight though, noting that it's always been like midway to end of the fight, instead of where we haven't ever used it like beginning of the fight ish, or preferably like beginning to mid is where it's gonna get its most value. Whereas here, that's good, but it's one person at the end of the fight, so okay, it's okay, Nate. I like that we're using it here. It's just maybe we could be getting more value if we're using it much more frequently for the anti-nade, and then also maybe more so beginning of fights.
It's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
Okay, repositioning.
I've
60 seconds remaining.
My ultimate is charging.
My barrier is destroyed.
Oh, almost.
You should be dead.
Yeah, I think she got healed at the very last second.
Nano boost is charging.
Barrier is fracturing.
Right. Don't be afraid to just toss your nades in. Like we've been sitting here for the past couple minutes. Like the only times you need to ever hold on to your abilities is if they have things to contest you. Now let's look at their team comp real quick. Before they were on a monkey and a Genji. Now really, do they have very much that can just get on top of you like flankers or dive characters?
Oh.
No, not really. So at the moment, we could just be tossing out our abilities like anytime we see like basically off a cooldown. Every time we get it, just throwing them in there, trying to get value out of it. Now, of course, we still want to look for quality, but we also want to up our quantity. Now, when we start to see that they have flankers, right? Once they get like 1, 2 flankers, and we feel like we're being pressured, well, now we can maybe hold on to, especially like if we feel like they're on top of us all the time. We start to hold on to one ability, right? Preferably, we'd hold on to the sleep for the flankers, unless we see a better opportunity for it, and then we'd use the nade for the aggressive anti-nade purposes, as that's going to be where the nade is going to get more value aggressively than the sleep. Sleep is more value defensively in most instances, so you start holding on to the sleep more often. Whereas so far we've even back when we were going for the even when they had the Genji and the monkey, we would toss out sleep all the time and then just hold on to the nade, right? And then if they are on a full dive, like they're just everyone's running dive characters, well then we would run a sleep and then or we would like hold on to both sleep and the nade, because the only time they're grouped up anyways is on top of us, and we need all the resources we can to get out of that. Just to make sure are you familiar with the term dive?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. So just holding onto our abilities then would be fine, but because team comp dictates playstyle, we're playing differently into different team compositions. But as of the moment, we should basically just be using our abilities every time we see an opportunity, right? Just off a cooldown all as often as possible. Whereas we haven't thrown in nades. We throw in nades very very rarely. We don't use it very often, and then half the time we do, we end up using it like unnecessarily, and then we don't use it for anti-nades very often, and we don't really get high value anti-nades. So,
The pain.
we chuck in an anti-nade there, but we hit one person with it, right? Just noting that maybe we could wait for more people to group up. Maybe instead of chucking it straight at the Zarya, we maybe could have gotten 2 people if we threw it at cart here in between them. So when you're throwing nades, make sure not throwing them straight at somebody, but we're throwing it in at the ground in between as many people as we can, and then maybe this gets 2 people instead of just 1 person. But then alternatively, this also it's not a very good situation for our nade, because of course getting 2 people is 2 times the value of getting 1 person. Getting 3 people is 3 times the value, and so forth, right? If you're getting 6 people, that's 6 times the value than if you just got 1 single Zarya here. So we want to wait for them to group up more and get closer together, and then that's where we look for the anti-nades. So maybe we'll look I'll look around for like situations to point out and go, okay, well this is where they're all grouped up, and then I'll show you, okay, they're just going to naturally throughout fights start to group up and spread out and group up and spread out, and you want to wait for them to group up and then throw the nade in. That way we can hit multiple people with it. Whereas this, yes, we throw the nade in aggressively, but again, it's not a very high value nade, anti-nade, just because it's only hitting 1 person. Notice positioning wise, holding very far out in the open, no cover at all. Very not great usage of cover, right? So just remembering the usage of good positioning is the usage of cover, bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? There's a lot of different types of cover. You have, random objects you find sitting around. You have, big old objects. You have the payload you can use. You have corners you can use. You have high grounds you can use, doorways you can use, right? Covers all over the place. We just want to make sure we're using it and we're not standing out in the open where they can shoot us very, very easily.
30 seconds.
Wait for him to stop and then go for the sleep. There's no reason to make it harder on yourself by interrupting him halfway through, unless like maybe the only situation where I wouldn't do that is like if he's running straight at one of your teammates and you know that if he hits your teammate they're gonna die, right? Maybe that's the only situation I would go for a sleep ahead of time. But here, like the question would be like, why not just wait an extra half of a second, right? Because we fire him while he's right here, and we know that he's gonna be coming forwards more into a stop in like half a second. Why not just wait an extra half a second to when he stopped moving, right? Okay, and notice again how, because of our current position, we're isolated off on our own, not really with any team support, and then now this would make us a very easy target to pick off by them. Yeah, we do have a Nano Blade, so we're looking for that around
Nano
here.
boost is ready to deploy.
This is not your time.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Okay, very good. Nano Boosts are looking like a strong suit of ours.
10 seconds.
They're almost out of time.
Alright, so that is round. Nano Boosts were looking very solid. By the way, you wanted to do a game. Did you want to do that now, or?
Yeah, I mean the next part was pretty straightforward. I mean, I don't think there was anything that was really out of the ordinary. Kind of just walk through them after that.
Okay,
It's just 2 minutes, yeah. So I guess I'll
Alright.
queue for a game.
Sounds good. So while you're queuing, I'm just going to go over, let's go over strengths and weaknesses real quick. Hopefully we can get through it before queue time starts. Just let me know when you get into a game.
Never.
So
Yep.
first off, let's go over abilities. Abilities, we've talked a bunch about. Sleeps have been actually looking pretty decent, though maybe just, using them off cooldown, maybe making sure that we are holding on to them. That's the thing we're holding on to when when they have flankers and whatnot. And then besides that, wait till Bob comes to a complete stop. And then besides that, sleep is pretty decent. We're hitting him like, maybe half the time-ish. Then nade usage is definitely the one that needs the most work, where we're not really using for anti-nade very often, and the couple anti-nades that I have seen have been one single person we're getting an anti-nade on. Making sure we're looking for anti-nades much more often. Try to hit nades in between people, not directly trying to hit them. To hit as many people as possible. Wait for them to group up. Take positioning to where we can get nades in, and then also just actively look for the anti-nades, because it's a very, very powerful ability, and it's going to be how you can carry as Ana and do more than just exist, right, as just heal botting. Now, overall, I'll probably say abilities, therefore, we'll put abilities for the moment at like a medium priority for you to work on, and then maybe we'll adjust them up and down as we go. Nano usage, honestly, haven't really talked much about it. We saw 2 and they honestly looked very, very solid. So for the moment, that's a low priority. You did really solid on Nano Boost. Not a lot of issues there that we've discussed at the very least. Not perfect, but not in need of work at the moment.
Alright.
Yeah, moving on. So mechanics. We've had some general mechanics where, we just missed a couple shots. We had overhealing, which is the thing that we talked about, right? Or just like kind of shooting shots that got wasted or didn't go anywhere. So we want to watch out for those. We also want to pay attention to when to use each type of scope. And then besides that, I think that was it in mechanics. Overall, probably say less than the ability usage. So maybe I'd put that one at medium and then bump up ability usage. But for now, we'll put this one at a low to medium priority. So because there's a little bit of stuff in there to work on, but not a lot. So that's where mechanics goes. Awareness, we've had a couple things from paying attention to team compositions to trying to think through this. Actually, awareness hasn't seemed that terrible. Paying attention to health bars on teammates is another one, right? And like when they actually need healing or not. Paying attention to our health bar and our danger level. And then besides that, there wasn't a ton of awareness things, so awareness probably goes to low to medium as well. And then finally, oh, do you get in a game, or what do you say?
No, nothing.
Okay.
I was just yeah, let's go.
Yep.
Whatever. What's next? Was
Yep.
that it?
Nope. And then finally,
Alright.
finally, have positioning. Positioning is which we did have a lot of talks about, right? Making sure we're using cover properly, making sure that we are actually using high grounds, making sure we're rotating in between fights to the best positioning possible, make sure we're not backing off into bad territory and out in the open, because we did actually walk out in the open a lot, so I'm fortunate I didn't actually go, I didn't do the demonstration on the training range, but in any case, besides that, let's see, was there anything else? And then also taking off angles to land abilities from, right? So not sitting on the main angle all the time, but taking off angles and taking high grounds to where we can use them as off angles. And then, therefore, probably say that your positioning goes up as well. So honestly, I'm going to rework this around a little bit. I'm going to bump up your ability usage to a medium high, just because I'm trying to do them in comparison to each other. So ability usage goes up to a medium high, positioning goes at a medium. Then your what was next? Your mechanics, that probably goes to a medium, and then your awareness probably goes to a low to medium, and then your ability usage comes at the bottom. Oh, you're in a game?
Yep.
All right. Oh, whoops! Press stop streaming instead of stop watching. There we go. So I'm on, Okay, now that we've already talked about a bunch of stuff, I might start pointing out stuff as we're going. Like, give you some reminders and whatnot as you're going through. Okay. There we walked through open area, right? We can look back at the death, and most deaths try to look back at it and think, why did I die? There we just ran through out in the open, and then therefore we died. That was a positional problem,
Nano boost is
right?
charging.
Hmm. Oh wow, they already have window.
System health compromised. Get back in the fight.
And right now they don't have a barrier, so maybe we can be looking for an anti-nade right around now because we have one less thing in the way. Or I'm sorry, maybe that was our Reinhardt. I missed that.
That will see them. Watching your back.
Dragon consume you.
Messed up that voice line.
Oh, where did he come from?
He's been sitting up on the high ground the whole time, right? Ever since the the last fight, he killed you from up there, right? So we just want to make sure
Yeah.
we're paying attention. That's an awareness thing of listening and watching. He was shooting at people and whatnot, which gives us audio cues to work with.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Let's keep it moving.
Oh, make sure not hard peeking that, right?
Wait,
Isai Noonan.
is that how it works? Like if he can just barely see me? Oh, okay, I didn't even know that.
I mean, if you can barely see him and shoot him, then he can barely see you and shoot you,
Yeah.
right?
We still need you.
It's just a
Yeah, make sure
scratch.
you're moving over to cover. We kind of out in the open there. So just hug the like the castle here while we're pushing forwards and whatnot. Make sure you're actually using your nano in this fight. We don't want to hold on to it for forever.
How?
Right. Make sure we're not. It looks like maybe now that we're not using nano blades, our nano boost is looking less comfortable. But we want to make sure we're not holding on to our nano as we have had it for like 2 fights now, right?
Uh-huh.
In which time we could have had an additional. We could have used 2 in the time we used 0, right, or something like that. So we want to make sure that we're using it more frequently. Use it at the beginning of fights, not the trying to use it near the end of the fight. Okay, good audio awareness.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Yeah, that would also have been a perfect time to go for an anti-nade when they're all laying on the ground like that. And in the shatter, pay attention to, wash for high noon, make sure you're using cover properly, and then we can dodge out the high noon. We've also died very, very frequently so far. We've died 5 times, and it's only been a couple of minutes here. So we want to focus
Mhm.
on staying alive and survivability, as when you're dying all the time, we lose out on a ton of value, right? We're not able to do things while we're dead, and we put our team at a disadvantage. Yeah, right now we can maybe be taking this time to reposition up to the high ground, like top left maybe, right? And then
Mhm.
that way we have positioning for the next fight.
Have your back. Nano boost is charging.
Focus my target. Personne
You're covered.
Oh.
This is going to hurt. My ultimate is charging.
Good job, Bap.
Nano boost is charging.
duplication initiated.
took a minute.
Okay. That fight, we seem to be lost at like where everybody was at, and we didn't seem to know where
Yeah.
people were. Make sure we're looking around us, like your teammates were shooting at people, so look at where our teammates shooting. If you can't find somebody, maybe your team can, right? There we ended up staggering ourselves, so make sure when the fight is lost that we're looking to get out if possible, or if not, you let them kill you. There we overstayed our welcome and stayed in too long. And then on top of that, also watch your spam jumping, as when you go jump, 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 that just makes us an easier target to hit and headshot, especially the higher up in ranks you go, so just watch out for that.
Ready to deploy.
Wanting to use nano this fight, we don't want to, you know, hold on to it for too long.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Right, so maybe if we had used it on our to like keep our Reinhardt alive, right, he wouldn't have died in that instance, right, which could keep you up a player during that fight. So a lot of things here. You know, maybe it's looking like almost more than the game we had before. So I mean, it could just be stress of trying to do it while I'm talking with you. But then at the same time, could just be inconsistencies. So
Mm-hmm.
Nano Boost now has shown more things. Pay attention to on your team. Like at the very beginning, a very easy way to make Nano Boost easier on yourself is to think about it before the game starts, before the fight happens. So right now, while we're walking out of spawn, we're thinking to ourselves, okay, let's come up with a target priority list, right? Like let's look at what are the top 3 things to nano on our team, and then if we can't nano the first one because they're dead or they don't have their ult, then we move on to number 2 and then number 3 accordingly. So what would you say would be like kind of the 1, 2, 3 priority list on our team right
Never
now?
stop fighting for what you believe.
Tanks first. Keep the tanks alive right now. I mean, this, I think squish, like, just positioning for me right now. Like you said,
No,
I've
no,
just
no.
been.
So I was saying that the nano priority list for
Oh,
your ultimate. Who would we nano 1, 2 like in an 1, 2, 3
uh,
order?
Ryan Monkey, and then who's my DPS? One of the other DPS that Echo, when she transforms, when she clones.
I'm saying during this round.
This round, Ryan, Sigma, Soldier, or Soldier first actually, or Soldier one or two, depending on the situation.
I would probably do Bastion number 1, Soldier number 2 with Visor, and
Mm-hmm.
then after that I would do Ryan as number 3, right? So that's just the target priority list I would go with, right? So we can maybe discuss after why we would go for that. Soldier either with, or sorry, Bastion either with ult or without ult would be very, very powerful. It's a very powerful character with a nano boost, so just probably using it on him would be very beneficial.
You're going to be okay.
Or you're playing on, oh, you're playing on Korean servers. Yeah, yeah. I remember that, that 1 hour thing.
Take your medicine.
Or not Korean, Asian servers. That's what it
Yeah.
was.
Zarya on point, Zarya on point.
I see. You're going to live. Healing enough.
Okay. Again, we're still struggling to be like using our nades aggressively, as we haven't really done that super often yet, as of yet. So we want to make sure we're still going for those. Maybe use like the top left rafters right now if we're trying to get good positioning. This will give us good angles for our nades.
Watching your back.
Right now we want healing, so we want to be thinking of a way we can get healing, particularly probably trying to get our other support to heal us.
I've seen one. You're going to live.
Using our, make sure we're not holding on to our nano boost this fight, or using it at some point here.
Yeah. Just waiting for them to push in. I don't know how long I should be holding those.
You're powered up. Get in there.
Very nice sleep.
You're covered.
Okay, I do your best to hug around the positioning we're on right now for most of the fight. Right, this gives us good angles on our team. This gives us good angles for nades. Means that we have cover usage, whereas where we were previously, we did not have good cover usage. Oh, don't try to duel her when she has sights up. That's not going to be very smart.
Barrier unstable.
I have your back.
Okay. There we kind of panicked with the ability usage, right? We whiffed the sleep on the Reinhardt, when he's just running straight at your team with an Ana boost, which should be a relatively easy sleep to land, right? If he's just running straight at you guys. And then Nate as well, we just kind of threw in there whiffed. So ability usage is definitely one of the big ones we want to work on.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're not going to be able to go through. Why don't we just finish up that game that we had there then? Because we're not going to be able to get into another game before the end of the session here. And then we'll just do a couple more minutes in here. I am streaming. All right, let's go back to the game.
Welcome.
All right.
Just ready for battle.
Don't just stand around.
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Come here. Let's keep this moving.
Escort
Okay.
the payload.
First thing right off the bat I'd be doing, and the other thing to keep in mind is at the beginning of fights, more often than not, people on your team are going to be full HP, right? Because you're going into the fight full HP, and then therefore this is the perfect time to be looking for anti-nades, as this is when you're not preoccupied with other things. And this also creates a lot of openings for your team to do work with. It can really turn the tide of the fight. So the first thing we're looking for is anti-nades. So we're probably, I'd say, come up top left, chuck a nade right over the edge here to where we're hitting somewhere like this, and then boom, you just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people, right? If we chuck a nade in like that. So we're looking to go top left, take that good positioning to be able to land the nade. Instead, we go to point, right, which is not going to be a very good angle, right? Like we can't land that nade angle really as efficiently as we could just from here. It would be very, very easy to land that nade. We also don't seem to be looking for nade at the moment, right? At the moment, we could still be chucking a nade up. Like, let's say we were looking for it, we threw a nade up, and we hit somewhere along this back wall. We would get 2 tanks, and then maybe, like, the McCree 2, right, from this angle. Yep, we would get the McCree 2, so we'd get 2 to 3 people just throwing in a nade, right? They're already down a person. Okay, so we do throw a nade in, but it's very delayed where, let's say, okay, so let's look at this nade. Okay, let's look at the arc of it. So first off, I don't even think that's connecting. That looks like it's just gonna hit the that looks like it's going to hit the like maybe hit the just the wall there if it keeps going. Right, this thing right here. On top of that, we
Yep.
don't notice the Zarya who just walks into it. Right, who Zarya is in front of her screen. Pay attention to the things that can block your nade. Teammates can block it, shields can block it, tanking abilities can block it, and then tanks themselves can block it. So make sure paying attention to our teammates, as that's happened multiple times where they've just walked in front of it. And the very simple way to not let that happen is to pay attention to them and then walk to the side a little bit, right? On top of that, by the time we had thrown it, we had lost all the good opportunities because now we're not really in a position to throw it. Let's look at top left, for example. Now we can just chuck it in right on top of them. And again, 1, 2, 3, probably 4 if we were just at a different angle.
Mm-hmm.
And on top of that nade, just the nade opportunities, we also get all the advantages that came along with the high ground as well. And we're just healing people up, all good.
I have your back. Walk it off.
Okay, that then healing nade was decent. The hog was, critical and being shot at.
I need a help restore. Nano boost is charging. Changing position.
Okay. We're spending a little bit of time when we're not looking for abilities. We're spending a little bit of time out in the open. So make sure this is a part of Ana positioning. Is when you are not, or sorry, when you are healing, make sure that we're not out in the open. So actually, let's talk about just the 3 real quick because I think at different times we've neglected all 3. So Ana special. Positioning things that go along with our character and some other supports as well. But when it comes to Ana, you have 3 boxes you're trying to check off when it comes to positioning. 1, can I see my team, right? We've had instances, especially in the live game we did, where we just weren't able to see our team, where we just were very split off from them, and we didn't know where the heck they were all at. So, Ana wants to see our team, try to see as many people as possible. 2, can the enemy team not see us? When we are just flat up healing, there's absolutely no reason why they should be able to see us when we could, for example, just be off in a room like this and just be completely safe while healing all these guys, of using cover while we're healing. Whereas it's not needed that we're be out in the open, whereas here we're just peeking out in the open unnecessarily for them when we're not using anything else besides healing, right? Now we can peek when we're going for nades and sleeps, and we can peek when we're in damaging, but there that we just took a bunch of spam damage unnecessarily, whereas we probably didn't need to take all that, right?
Nano boost is charging.
Changing position.
Right, and then because of all that, we get down to 40 HP because we're kind of peeking out in the open unnecessarily. And then because of that, now we can't, we probably could get another pretty good anti-nade in here if we're looking for it. If we just chuck it straight here in the middle, boom, 4 people, right? If we're looking for it, but at the moment now we're gonna be forced to use it on ourselves, I think. Actually, we're not using it ourselves, so use it on yourself. You're 40 HP, right? Pay attention to your health bar. Or request healing. Make sure we're requesting healing when we're low as well. Okay, another bubble. So, that's still a pretty decent nade. Right, that's pretty solid nades. So, not the best, but not the worst. And that seems to define most of our nades. Like, I don't know if I've seen us hit more than 2 people ever with a nade. Which is just means that, like, okay, we're getting some okay nades, and that never really good nades.
Oh,
Okay, nice sleep.
Is approaching its destination.
Heroes never die.
Go back like half a second here. 2, 1. Okay, we have nade. Chucking a nade right now. Hits, Zarya, heals her, and then gets 2 antis. And then if we just miss by a hair, then we go sailing past it, 2 more people. So, all grouped up. Probably easy place to go for anti-nade there.
it's just a scratch. You'll be fine.
Okay.
You're powered up. Get in there. ده هيكون مؤلم.
Good purple. And then that seems like it's about it. So we're going to exit out here. And now we're just going to use this last couple of minutes to go over the main points of the session, do a quick review, and then wrap up the session from there. So main points, number 1 point was ability usage, as we just wanted to get, especially nade, wanted to get a lot more value out of our nades where we didn't really get as much as we could have. Make sure that we're throwing in between people, wait for them to group up and then throw them. Pay attention to when they are grouped up, so pay attention to the enemy team and how they're positioned. Take angles to land nades, don't throw them directly at people, because then they can just sometimes get stuck on them. Watch for the things that can block your nades, such as teammates and shields and other tanking abilities, along with just tanks themselves blocking it from hitting the rest of their team. Try to look for anti-nades much more often. The ratio in which you're hitting each should be roughly 60-40, but healing nades come when they're needed. You don't dictate that, so most of your nades should be actively looking. You should be looking for the anti-nade, and then the healing nade should kind of come as the interruption, where you're like, oh snap, I need to heal now, right? Moving on, sleeps, just, and then also just using it much more frequently, as we kind of held on to it a lot of the time, right? Besides that, sleeps, use it as, frequently too. Don't hold on to either of them unless they have flankers and or dive characters. And then besides that, just working on hitting a little bit more of them. And then besides that, nothing really else. So number 2 thing to work on, let's see, what was number 2 at? Probably say positioning, right? A lot of positional things. Make sure we're using good cover usage. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Making sure we're taking high grounds, as we very rarely took high grounds, and making sure we're rotating between fights, as we, again, didn't really seem to be doing that in between fights very often, where we just kind of would sit around in between fights, and we had like a good 15-20 seconds to do rotations, right? So get to the best positioning possible in between fights. Make sure that we are not standing out in the open and not rotating out in the open when we're pressured. And then besides that, take off angles to where we can land nades and sleeps effectively. Right. Number 3 is going to come in at our... because this is hard, because our nano boost did get bumped up a little bit after the last one. So we have awareness. Okay, probably say it comes in at awareness, right? Awareness, pay attention to health bars of your teammates and yourself. Request healing when you're low, as that last time we got low we didn't notice. And then also use healing nade if needed. Make sure that we are paying attention to health bars on our team so we're not overhealing. And pay attention to the enemy team so we can wait till they group up and whatnot. Pay attention to where our team is at so we don't end up, you know, missing people and not knowing where the heck they are. And then there's also that one fight where we just had absolutely no clue where anybody was, right? Even while we heard them with our audio cues, so that pay attention to audio cues as well, listening and paying attention to what direction the audio is coming from. Turn down your volume, your music volume if needed. Turn up your sound effects if needed. And then also if you don't have surround sound, the Overwatch does have a surround sound Dolby Atmos feature that you can try to use. Besides all of that, just make sure you're intentionally listening for footsteps and gunshots and paying attention to where the enemy team is, because we were very lost during a fight where we were just like looking all around us and couldn't find a single person, right? Even while our team was running at people and we had audio cues to tell us where people were, right? Besides that, pay attention to team compositions and how they dictate your play style. Moving on, number 4, I would say we have mechanics and ult usage. Probably say number 4 comes in at your mechanics, making sure we're using our different scopes properly and not overhealing, and that's pretty much it. And then with ults, we want to make sure that we are paying attention to like kind of a target priority and thinking what's the best, right, in order, and then therefore going off of that, right? And then also make sure we're not holding on to it, especially like when we don't have a big nano blade to go off of, right? That we're not holding on to our ult, but we're using it like preferably at the beginning of fights, not, you know, mid fight or late fight, if preferable, right? That way because ults that are used first get more value, and then that it can also stop us from just losing the fight before we get a chance to use it. Do you have any questions about anything that we talked about, or just anything else at all?
No, I don't think so. I think that's pretty clear.
All right, man. So let me stop the recording there.